Sunday, another week down, another week. This week was honestly interesting. Suffered my first loss of the year. Learning curve wasn't the best trade, I'm not gonna lie. To be totally honest, it was a little bit of a mistake, error. I can now, in hindsight, see why it was a loss and why maybe I shouldn't have took it. But yeah, first L, first mistake this year. Took a loss on some gold buys on Monday. Forced a little bit of a trade in like the first session of the week. Some continuation buys. And I ended up basically buying too high, and we had a secondary facing market structure take place at the start of the week. Basically a pullback to deeper prices to set up for buys on gold. So yeah, later in the week after CPI, because we had PPI Tuesday, CPI Wednesday, and then retail sales Thursday. And then we had some like medium to like high impact news on Friday, 15th of Jan at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We took some buys at 26.85. Obviously price ran on well after that as well, even into the 2700s and beyond. But yeah, I took profit around just below 2700s at 26.97s. Just sat here chilling. It's quite hot today, so I enjoy being outside. So even if it is hot, I enjoy being outside. So I just thought I'd come out and get some fresh air and record this. All buys on Wednesday evening. Wednesday post London session close. That was the win for the week. Like I said, took a loss at the start of the week before that. Managed risk. Just a little bit of a rush, little FOMO. You could say greedy trade. At the end of the day, it was still managed. Didn't overtrade. Didn't do any bullshit. So yeah, although it could have been avoided, and it should have been avoided, really, we took the loss, and that's why you got to give yourself room for error in this shit. Like, let's be honest, you don't want to set yourself up in a place like strategically where you can't really afford to lose or take extra losses that you might not be better, like your strategy might not be prepared for, because there are going to be times when you make when you have like a lapse of judgment and you make a mistake by entering a trade that maybe isn't the best. It could still be valid based on your strategy, but it might not be the best. It might not be the best opportunity to capitalize, and it might, even in certain scenarios, be better to just stay out and wait for a better opportunity. And this was one of those, but unfortunately took the loss, but obviously made it back on the next trade with a 1 to 3 hitting, and that made back and put me up 2R for the week. Obviously my first lesson / loss this year so far. I don't want it to, like, the last thing I want is to take a first loss and then have like a string of losses after that due to like being psychologically messed up from taking a loss that I maybe shouldn't have took. Yeah, but you've just got to stay focused, stay grounded, focus on your plan, and don't get too emotional. Basically, that's like the worst thing possible. Like, it's to get too emotional after a loss is just going to cause more losses. Going into the third week of the year, yeah, I'm excited to continue this run and get more wins under the belt for the month. I'm going to kind of slow it down as we go into the end of the month, because we've had like the bulk of the economic data for this month and stuff like that. It's all like past. There's still a few events towards the end of the month, but most of it we've had like CPI, jobs reports, stuff like that, like NFP and stuff like that. So those are all out of the way. Even PMI I think is out of the way now. like the services PMI and the manufacturing PMI. So it's 3 wins, 1 loss, which puts us up at 8R. 3 times 1 to 3R, and then take away 1R for the loss, and that equals 8R. Now, that's 8 times my risk, so whatever I'm risking per trade, 8 times that is essentially what I'm up in profit now for the month. Like I said, don't want to ramble too much more. I just wanted to share my thoughts and my experiences for this week and where my mindset is going into a fresh new week. I'm going to go over things economically and prepare for the week today and get everything sorted. Yeah, lots of lessons to be learned. You can always do better. You can always get better. And like I said, you touch on what I was saying before. You don't want to put yourself in a position in the markets where there isn't much room for error, because what that is going to do is going to promote the idea of the chance of there being more mistakes and errors, because you've got a lot more pressure on yourself for not making a mistake. Like, you understand? And like that pressure is just going to influence you to get emotional and make bad decisions, which is how people lose all the money in this shit. It's how people fail in this shit, is getting emotional and reacting to the market in an emotional way. You need to get rid of, you need to suppress your emotions your best way you can once you're in the markets. Otherwise, it's just going to be bad. I'm glad that I positioned myself in a way that I could take the loss and still be okay, and still be profitable, and still be up, and still not allow it to deplete all my profits and erase my progress. Because that's the key thing, guys. That's what we want to hear, is we want to take money home and money into our bank accounts, baby. God bless. I hope everybody runs up the bag and kills it this year. I'm gonna stay focused and keep on grinding.
Hey, 2-300 beats going crazy.
Yo, so the new weekly candle's been open for a few hours now. As you can see, we go all the way back to the weekly. Opened up 6 hours ago. Brand new weekly candle. The previous week, I was just looking, closed a very strong bullish, huge bullish candle on the weekly. Now, what I do anticipate for the start of this week is we establish a bottom wick, maybe even push down to the 2670s again, and maybe 2660s, before flipping the weekly candle back bullish in the later half of the week, after all the data's drop and stuff like that, to break these highs. May even happen in the early parts of the week, who the fuck knows. This might just be the only bottom wick we get, like this, what we've got. But I doubt it, because we haven't got any news today. So I think today's going to be a pretty slow week day. So guys, as you can see right here, the new price action is in front of me so far. Like, we tapped in, I believe, on the open of the weekly, discussed this price action here. Overall, it was quite choppy, but I did decide to take a risky buy bounce scalp from the 2685s. I didn't take this entry. I actually took it afterwards because I saw a bit more of a confirmation where price was retesting this area, rejecting very well, creating double bottoms in this area and stuff like that. Shit. And this is just to measure the structure. If price doesn't break this low, then it's nice for us to continue up breaking highs and trading into these levels, and possibly even to the key level of 2697s. Like, following that structure. But unfortunately, momentum started to die down, stopped breaking highs after it broke above this one, very quickly. Messy price action, and eventually broke below the lows, stopping us out. So unfortunately, when we got in here, we only got to like 30, no, almost 50 pips
in profit, which is well over 1 to 2. And then price died and went on and stopped us out. Technically, because we were only like 15 pips away from target, basically, or 20, let's say, roughly. You did have the opportunity because it was a little bit of a risky trade with us being inside of this choppy range since the open, and we did break lows down here and didn't break any major highs at the time. I was just taking this buy scalp and short term setup based on the high time frame bullish momentum in volume and the fact that this structure was printing bullish once again. This is the second trade of this week. Some more gold buys post CPI. Okay, so we had a little bit of an increase on the 1 forward one, which isn't as important. Like this number and this number is important. That's on forecast. Stable, showing stable inflation year over year. And this was actually lower than forecast, excluding food and energy, consumer price index year over year reading. And then we had Empire State Manufacturing Index coming out at a whopping minus 12.6. So that's much lower than forecast, much lower than previous also, and it's actually below zero, well below the mins. I don't even know what the min was for that, but it was, yeah, well below it. So yeah, that was a surprise outcome. Pessimistic, which was bullish for gold. So these fueled the gold buys that we took. This data came around NY Open on Wednesday. And you'll see the trade I took is after London close. So might have had a mixed neutral effect because it was on forecast for the the normal CPI, but excluding food and energy, we did see a decrease, showing equivalent in inflation. And on the month-on-month basis, we actually saw an increase. So it's a little bit of mixed data when you look at the across CPI, and really it was like neutral on forecast data for the year over year reading. Like I said, it came out on 2.9 and on the forecast. So wasn't like crazy outcome, like pretty much on expectations. But yeah, I think what drove this move that we're going to go through right now was really the surprise manufacturing index paired with the consumer price index, looking relatively weaker. Now let's go into the charts. So right now, the price action I'm looking at here is during the hours of New York session and going into London close on Wednesday. It's currently Thursday, in the first few hours of the new daily candle. I think it's like, yeah. Well, actually, not first few hours, but it's been a decent amount of hours. We're well into Asian session right now, a new Asian session. As you can see, we're just ranging around this key level right now. But after CPI, and obviously all the news came out, like I was speaking about, I want to try and make this brief, but I want to go into detail because this is a very good trade, and after this is a good trade to get back after taking the loss at the start of the week on a bullshit trade. So we rated the lows after CPI because we happened to be at pretty much the intraday highs at the time of the well, we're around these prices around, well, the first initial spike up was to rate the highs. So yeah, we did rate the highs first, and then once we lost momentum, came down, rated the lows for better price positioning. Now, if you look on the intraday time frames a little bit here, we can see that when price pushed up during the early hours of Wednesday, it made new highs. So we were already running into new highs basically, and a key intraday AOI running into New York session where we had the data. Ignore this, get rid of this. So yeah, when price pushed back to this level, it interestingly pulled back to the previous highs that were broken from last daily candle, because this was like the close of the daily candle, pulled back, broke into new highs in the fresh new daily candle. So these are new daily highs, basically breaking the previous daily highs right here. So this is very strong bullish price action. Now the basically the news comes in, causes a minor pullback to better demanded price zones. So this just so happened to be around 260s, no, 280s, sorry, 2680s. Um, and I've really waited for a lot of confirmations on here and got kind of maybe even a late entry, you could say, because potentially people would have got in here. Some might have even gotten in as low as here. Uh, but me personally, I wanted to wait for all the confirmations, the break of structure, the pullback, retest, and then the continuation of that structure, not just the break of structure and then we come back down and end up breaking lows. No, push up, break it into new highs, retest, still holding bullish structure. We could have even retested all the way back down to here, which would have been nice. Um, but I actually did like this because it gave us a nice setup from the 2685s key level as we broke above here and continued to make new highs. Even had a little bit of a retest before taking off into the 2690s again. So yeah, like this pullback here and retest of the broken structure set up perfectly for me to put my stop around 35 to 40 pips from 2685s, which meant that this whole range to me was a 1 to 3, the 120 pip range. And that's what I was gunning for. So yeah, we took the buys above here, went in the first few hours of the trade, it was going absolutely great. We had already like ran well over 100, well, yeah, almost 100 pips up to here, and then that's when we started to see some exhaustion as we went into the later hours of the daily candle. But then we continued to still choke our way up to the key level and eventually tapping into 2697s. But by the time price was around here and ranging and showing exhaustion, a slight bit of exhaustion, like smaller candles, slower movements, stuff like that, I had already like secured the trade. I had already move my stop here, and then eventually I move my stop above the key level to secure the position completely. So yeah, when I went to sleep last night around it was like 1, 2 a.m. So like 1, 2 p.m. Eastern. Um, I was secured and ready to ride it up into the key level. And we did happen to tap the key level. And so far since then, we've just been ranging around this key level. Like I said, I have already took profit. This was a nice trade. I was just aiming for the range to fill based on the bullish data that we had come in for gold. So yeah, perfect buy position after like a short-term pullback from the highs to get better prices once we had pretty much after NYSE, but let's say after London closed, we did not break any lows after that. We'd only started printing new highs and shifting structure. So when I see this sort of movement at this specific time, I'm very confident that like price is gonna end up holding the structure that it's printing. If it's printing like this after, it's a there's a high chance that we're gonna run in one direction basically. Obviously sometimes it does fail, regardless of what sort of confirmations it shows you and stuff like that. But that's why we have the confirmations. But yeah, very good trade. 2685s to 2697s. I think that honestly might be my last trade this week. So far, I only took 2 trades, 1 win, and 1 loss at the start of the week.